Follow me with your shape-shifting smiles and I see you. Maybe they'll believe you. Illuminati, occult dawn trial, silver discs and hidden files, and we see you. We've got to believe you. Blast off. Blast off. Blast off. Blast off.
Blast off, Wolfpack, on a confusing episode of the Hyper-Anomalous Esoteric Research Organization podcast, also known as Hero Paranormal, broadcasting at the base at La Madre Mountain, just south of Area 51. My name is Ryan, and I am the paranormal pontificator of the airwaves, currently confused as can be about the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. So, let me explain. There is a lot going on. I'm going to pop up an image of what appears to be a cardboard cutout. We don't know if it's real. We don't know if it's fake. We just know it's being circulated all over the place. It is a cardboard cutout of the new supreme leader of Iran. I am also going to post up an image here of Benjamin Netanyahu with 6 fingers. Now, we don't know if this is real, if it's just an artifact of the video, or if there's AI involved. The truth is, equal parts are equally weird. We have every side using AI. It's difficult to know what's really going on. And we have UFO disclosure, the Epstein files, a missing UFO general, all dropping at the same time, making things more confusing. Is this World War III or the greatest psyop ever? I heard today, I went to the post office and I was talking with the guy, federal employee. I was talking with the guys, and you know, I'm not the only one thinking this. People were talking about how these opposing sides, you don't know who to believe. Based on recent reports, the odds that Benjamin Netanyahu has AI-generated video deepfakes circulating are extremely high. Allegedly, multiple distinct instances of AI-manipulated videos feature the Israeli Prime Minister being identified and debunked as being AI. These videos are used both as propaganda in the Middle East and regular news clips. Now, the use of AI video by opposing sides in modern warfare has created what is being called a hyper-intensive narrative warfare. And this changes the whole environment. I heard, allegedly, that the new supreme leader was injured and he was missing one, if not both legs. He was in a medically induced coma. He had a ruptured spleen. Then, on the other hand, you have generals coming out and saying that he's giving orders. So we have a hyper-intensive narrative warfare environment, making it exceedingly difficult for the public, journalists, researchers, investigators to differentiate between fact and fiction. The surge in ultra-realistic AI videos is showing fake missile strikes, explosions, and troop movements. We have images coming straight from video games on both sides, allegedly. And this is the problem. It's hard to dismantle and figure out what are official videos, what are fake videos, what are deep fake videos, where these videos are coming from. In the modern era of sharing stuff on social media, you don't know where the videos are coming from. We have a fog of war In other words, we have AI lies, we have UFO files, we have Epstein bombshells, we have the 2026 reality crisis, which essentially, if you heard my previous podcast talking about the possibility of AI programs like Gotham, Lavender, the list goes on and on. AI programs being involved with the targeting of missiles and basically what's called battlefield singularity or co-command, a fully autonomous AI strategic targeting implementation. This is a brave new world. The current global landscape in 2026 is increasingly described by experts as a hybrid conflict, where the line between information warfare and traditional war has all but disappeared. While traditional military strikes are in fact occurring, we have AI lies everywhere. Most notably, the joint U.S.-Israeli Operation Epic Fury against Iran has been driven, accompanied, and often defined by digital operations. And that's not me talking. Just ask AI. All of this is an apparent third world war of information, artificial intelligence information. And all you have to do is ask things like Grok, Gemini, ChatGPT, what the current global landscape in 2026 as far as a wartime scenario is, and it will drive you as an automated system, right? What we're talking about, into the reality that we are defined by digital operations, that this is World War III, an information war, a glitchy AI-generated information war, but an information war. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has stated that Vladimir Putin has already started World War III, that this is just the way it's going, but that Putin started it. I don't know if I would emphasize or agree with that, but according to recent interviews, as recent as March of 2026, Zelensky reasons that there are several key reasons Putin is to blame. Let me explain. Zelensky frames Ukraine as the primary line of defense for the world. Well, I think that's a bunch of BS. Personally, that's just me. He points to the active military involvement of Russia and compares it to North Korea, Iran, and China. But he's not very grounded. I think he sees all of his funding dissolving, all of his missiles going towards another area of the world. And he knows that unless he makes this epic sales pitch, his war is over. His wealth is over. And his long-standing, what I believe, psychological operation is over. So we have information warfare. Traditional kinetic war is in the rearview mirror. We have equal parts of holy crap, this is wild, and let's not lose our minds going on anytime anything comes out on the internet. Because the number one thing you have to look at is it real or is it fake? And anymore, we just can't tell because some of the fake is coming out through real venues. There's tense new clips layered with glitchy AI-generated audio that slowly distorts into static, and you don't know if this was actually a scenario where a craft was hit, a soldier was downed, much like what I just showed in the preview. 1 month you're watching deepfake missiles hit Tehran, the next you're reading Epstein's flight logs naming billionaires. Where is the reality? We really don't know. This could, in fact, be a psyop. Okay, so we know we're not in a traditional war. We are in an information war. But what does that mean? It means we have to be very careful about the information we are ingesting because it's all over the map. We have Epstein, missing UFO generals, disclosure, possible aliens, extraterrestrials, videos on both sides that are AI and glitchy, actual video game imagery like some of the stuff I've been posting that looks extremely real. We are watching deepfake missiles taking out buildings based on available evidence. reports from independent journalists and global intelligence, the probability that modern large-scale conflicts such as the Ukraine war are entirely fake is considered very low. But the fakeability within those conflicts is extremely high. While misinformation and propaganda, not to mention AI-generated videos and pictures, are at an all-time high, the idea that the war is a total hoax is disregarded. But the hoaxability is extremely high. Now, while there's no exact real-time percentage of how many videos about ongoing wars such as the 2026 Iran conflict or the Ukraine war are fake, reports indicate that a vast amount of content is AI generated, or at least at the very minimum, manipulated. It's being manipulated to fit a particular narrative. Whichever side is releasing that video makes it fit a particular narrative. This is where it gets scary. Estimations are suggesting up to 99% of accounts spreading certain AI videos on platforms like X are doing so to gain monetization or to make money, generating massive engagements. The surge in AI fakes is astonishing. In early March of 2026, this month, we've seen a catapulting of percentages. The learning curve for AI has gone off the map. And as I said in previous podcasts, I believe the singularity is here. I said that for a reason a while back, and now it looks like it's true. In fact, even Elon Musk has said the singularity is here. The creator motive is off the charts. AI-generated videos and images depicting deepfake attacks, explosions, and military personnel in the Iran-Israel war have generated tens of millions of views on social media, often being mistaken for the real footage. The creator motive is off the chain. Many fake videos are created by users looking for cash to make money through engagement, through platforms and revenue sharing programs. Often using AI to create realistic war footage, it can reach millions of people very quickly. And it's difficult to detect. But this recent video of Netanyahu and the recent videos by Iran, when you run them through the machines, they are saying that, yeah, there's a very good probability that there's AI, at least manipulation. At the very least, manipulation. Maybe not completely fake, but at least manipulated. So we have a core problem here. This is world war confusion. It's chaos. Every faction is winning on social media and losing on the ground. What I mean is you literally cannot tell which is which because the footage is AI assisted or AI fabricated. I just got somebody from X sending me more footage. This is insane. So AI is a new fog machine, and every side is using it. Ukraine has opening battlefield data to allies, specifically to train drone AI models. US, Israel, and the Iran war have confirmed the use of advanced AI tools for targeting and sitting satellite drone data in seconds. We're talking about platforms like Gotham and Lavender, Palantir, Anduril, XAI. Everybody's got a piece of the pie. And Russia and Iran have generative AI flooding, what they call just straight flooding social media, everywhere they can put it. In many cases, the AI is making AI. The AI is making AI videos, and it's distributing it. There are bot farms. And with these fake strike videos, deep fake leaders, and propaganda memes, it's hard to tell where it's going. They even have disruption notices, so if it starts to get flagged, it'll close down the account and open another one and start the same thing over again. Chatbot armies are pumping out contradictory casualty numbers. Deep fake audio of officials admitting war crimes. AI-generated CCTV of missiles hit that turned out to be video game footage. What is the result going to be? Do we even know what lies ahead? Well, I don't know where it's headed in the future, but I'll tell you where it's been in the past. Let's go down this timeline of events. We have a perfect storm as far as timing with the Epstein files, UFO disclosure, World War III dropped right in the middle, a missing UFO general, and this disappearance of retired U.S. Air Force Major General William Neil McCaslin is a big, big deal. It has drawn significant attention due to the timeline, this flood zone of chaos, right? General Neil McCaslin had very important roles in military programs, highly sensitive military programs, including command of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. This is the base linked to the UFO Roswell lore in public speculation. He up and disappeared after Trump said, "We are going to disclose some stuff about UFOs." And I have it on pretty good advice that we, meaning our country, and some of the offices of investigation, know more than they're letting on. But getting back to the perfect storm, we have the Epstein Files Transparency Act, signed November 2025, a massive 3.5 million page dump. In that page dump, we've seen everything from the words we didn't want to see, like cannibalism, to speculative stuff revolving around kids, young girls, space, non-human intelligence, stranger things, and never before seen records. Now, what we're finding through this process is that this mega drop has been globally distracted from with a war. Many people are joking that, my gosh, here we need our time to research as conspiracy theorists or even regular theorists. At this point, there is no such thing as a conspiracy theorist. We're all reality theorists. But there's no time to even look into the Epstein files because we are bombarded with a missing UFO general, World War III, massive psyops in every single direction. Now, the UFO community is at odds with this missing UFO general for a variety of reasons. This is the general that helped Tom DeLonge get an amazing group of consultants to get to the Stars Academy of Arts and Science off the ground. And as well as other projects. So his case is not officially tied to UFOs by authorities. But media and UFO researchers have highlighted alarming synchronicity along with recent pushes for UFO disclosure by Donald Trump. Trump orders full release February 19th, 2026, after Obama's podcast comment, where Obama basically says, he's sitting there with a cup of coffee and he basically says, yeah, aliens are real. He did it right there on a podcast. And Trump afterwards says, hey, you know what? I am going to be the guy who gets this out. And we're going to go into where this all ties into, allegedly, Robert Bigelow as well. Never before seen stuff I'm going to drop here. It's going to rock you. It's going to be a bombshell. So as of mid-March, the process is rolling out nothing but explosive content. We have Obama saying aliens are real. Then he goes on to say, well, they're real, but they're not at Area 51. Check out this clip.
Aliens real? Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in, what is it?
Area 51?
Area 51. There's no underground facility, unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
Absolutely mind-blowing. There it is. Now, keep in mind that if this is true, which I believe it is, they don't necessarily tell the president any of these things. Of course, I may be, in some people's minds, a conspiracy theorist. But with this Epstein mega drop, then the global distraction of the war, then this alleged disclosure of UAP phenomenon, and of course, McCaslin, age 68, retired and living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Somebody who's extremely fit, by the way, just up and disappearing without his phone, without his watch. this gets very strange with the emergence of presidents saying these things. And then Trump with a directive or promises related to UFO, UAP file releases. Now, where this gets more interesting is if it's not just out of the woods crazy already, is now there's a researcher named Mark from the UK who's claiming he's in touch more or less with Robert Bigelow. And that Robert Bigelow is the insider that is leaking information about disclosure, which I highly doubt, by the way. And I only say that because Mr. Big, as I like to call him, that's a term of endearment, fails to meet some of the criteria which Mark put out earlier. Now, if you haven't seen this with Patrick from Vetted, had a big expose on this. Really, I think that podcast should be called Unvetted because none of it was vetted. I like Patrick. I met Patrick out at Contact in the Desert this year under some pretty seemingly secretive. We had some pretty cool experiments that we were involved with out there, and I really like Patrick. So I'm not talking trash. But in this particular case, this was an unvetted indication. And of course, as the thumbnail or the clickbait, it's got Robert Bigelow saying, "I am the insider." Well, these might be astonishing claims. I'm not there to say that Bigelow doesn't believe that aliens are here and walk among us. He does, as do I. What I'm saying is the speculation that he is an insider, which is talking to a journalist in the UK, which is leaving a trail of breadcrumbs to Trump's presidential disclosure. In that context, I think that this is fairly speculative. We need to narrow things down. Let me explain. There is a UK journalist who is saying Robert Bigelow is an insider giving him information as to President Trump's disclosure. Now, if you have come across any of the information, which it's information overload at this point when it comes to disclosure, but if you've come across any of this information, you have full-on conspiracy brain at this point. So let's talk about this UK researcher and how all of this is going to take away from the moral panic, World War III, UAP disclosure, and why people, and the Epstein files, and why people think this is a grand psyop. Before we get to Mark in the UK, let me explain. In theory, some are alleging that there is a coordinated distraction. And it's not just auto hoaxers or people like Tim Osman or people like Fakeologist or people like, there's a number of people out there, which I actually appreciate, all of these people. But the zone has been flooded with sex scandals, alien disclosure, AI war porn, so public you can't focus on any actual policy, and endless conflict. Add to that people that are benefiting from clicks with their podcasts, and you end up with this kind of stuff. Let me pop an image here on the screen. Okay, now the researcher you see here is Mark Christopher Lee, also known as @the King of UFO on X. He's a UK-based UFO filmmaker, author, and longtime researcher. 30 plus years in the field. He's known for documentaries like the one on the Rendlesham Forest incident and has been active in the UFO community for quite some time. In recent weeks, as of early mid-March, Lee has publicly stated in interviews and posts that one of his key sources for rumors about planned UFO disclosure, specifically the speech by President Trump, allegedly scheduled for July 8th, 2026, tying into the Roswell anniversary, is Robert Bigelow, the billionaire aerospace entrepreneur, founder of Bigelow Aerospace, former owner of Skinwalker Ranch, and a key figure in past Pentagon UFO programs like OSAP. So, key details from recent reports and Lee's own statements get a little blurry. Earlier on, he mentioned that this was a Pentagon insider, that it was somebody at Washington, D.C. Then again, that it was someone within Trump's camp. You would think cabinet or some committee member. Now, Bigelow is a Trump supporter with deep insider ties to UFO research. But he's not out of Washington, D.C. He's not one of Trump's cabinet. He's not one of Trump's, Washington, D.C. cronies. But in my opinion, he is very credible. Now, I'm not saying that Bigelow doesn't have a tie to all this. I believe he very much has ties to all this. In fact, he may be the mortar between the bricks. However, Lee has expressed feeling used a little bit, and I don't think that we are really looking at this in the correct format. This ties to soft disclosure, in my opinion, as I would put it, the fact that we are being forced, as if by narrative, to slowly drip, drip, drip disclosure, to understanding these matters on a case-by-case basis very slowly, the way it was designed to be disclosed. Now, why would someone say that they have a Pentagon insider or a Washington, D.C. insider when we all very much know that Robert T. Bigelow lives in Las Vegas, Nevada, where I am right now? And this has people wondering if the lines are crossed. Some have called Mark a complete fraud, which I wouldn't go that far. Others have called the entire disclosure deal a complete fraud, which I wouldn't go that far, or a grand psyop. I wouldn't go that far. But Lee mentioned having two sources. This is where things get really interesting with the UAP disclosure. One connected to Skinwalker Ranch / Brandon Fugel, not a household name, but credible in his view, and the second being Bigelow himself. What's interesting about this, if true, because these are all allegations at this point, what's interesting about this is that they're both tied into Skinwalker Ranch, the Uinta Basin of Utah, and the high strangeness there, which we know there's been black budget Pentagon projects there since the late 90s, at least accounting for $22 million that we know of, maybe more. And I know that this is going to sound far-fetched, but if he's feeling used, why? Why is he feeling used? Why is Lee feeling used when he has people giving him any information? I'm not going to say who those people are. I'm going to let Mark go into that, because let's face it, he is the one who's coming out with this. Mark Christopher Lee is the one who's been really getting millions and millions of views talking about this sort of thing. I don't think he's been used at all. And if he was used, it was voluntarily. But I don't know Mark personally. Maybe there's something else going on behind the scenes. We have to wait. But slow down. Slow down. The theory that this is all a coordinated distraction, meaning disclosure, the war, Epstein, the missing general, I have to say has to be forced out of the room. I don't think there's a grand psyop. I think we have independent psyops which have all been thrown together, and they create a mind war, a war for your attention. And you can't stay on one too long because you get distracted by another. Epstein release was forced by bipartisan law, allegedly. It goes back and forth. First, the Republicans wanted it. Then the Democrats wanted it. Now the Republicans want it again. And the truth is, same bird, right? Different wings. But the UFO push, that started out because of a viral podcast moment, and now Trump's long-standing promise, not timed to Iran strikes, but timed around this missing general now. Trump says, we are going to have disclosure. Shortly afterwards, this general goes missing. He has ties to Roswell. If in fact any craft or bodies, as some allege, from Roswell may have gone to Wright-Patterson, this is the guy that would have known about it. This is the guy that you could point to and say, what happened? And he's the one that could answer. He's the public guy. Even though he's been retired for 13 years, this is the guy. But now he's gone. He's missing, almost as if vaporized. Disappeared into thin air. It doesn't have to be one grand psyop. It can be individual psyops concurrently programmed at the same time, creating distraction and chaos. And that's what I think we have here. Distraction. But distraction from what? Truth is, Arrow, the government authority that was put in charge of looking into this UAP, UFO enigma, found nothing, or allegedly found nothing, but that may also be part of the distraction or the narrative. There's no credible evidence of extraterrestrial tech, reverse engineering programs, or non-human biologics, at least not according to them. So what's the distraction from? Is it from people like you and I looking into this? According to some of the groups that have gone out and looked, that's exactly what they think it is. It fits the bill. It fits the narrative. You can't believe what you're being told, basically. Most high-profile claims trace back to what's called circular reporting. That is, old rumors from the 1950s through the 80s, disinformation campaigns or loops, amplified by second and third-hand sources, parroted from one podcast to the next, one researcher to the next, stories that go back generations in some cases. No physical evidence has ever been produced despite the promises. Or has it? I had a crew out at Space Wolf Research recently. They saw what they thought were, well, fireflies. One of them slapped the firefly with a device, and it made a metallic sound. When he looked on the ground, he found this, a tiny little metallic ball. And believe it or not, if you look closely, there are little engravings on the ball. Now, I don't know if they're man-made engravings. I don't know if this is all BS. This could just be anything, but it's very heavy. Let me grab my millimeter wrench here, show you how big it is. But from time to time, we do get these. Let's see. You can see how tiny that is. Well, we do get these things from time to time, but what are they? Could we be distracted from things like this or the much bigger, I'll drop it so you can hear it, how heavy this is. And it bounces, almost as if it's made of something other than metal, but it's very much metal. It looks a lot like a miniature boogosphere. Now, speaking of the boogosphere, these are, again, allegedly extraterrestrial. There's no evidence providing anything that is valuable feedback. I'm going to have this thing sent off. To me, it looks like a run-of-the-mill. I was a skateboarder, so to me it looks like a very large wheel bearing. And as far as the engravings, you know, they're very microscopic. You need like a 60X. You need one of these. You need one of these to look at it. You know, a loop with 60X on it to even see anything. And so to me, being a skateboarder, you know, it just looks like a bearing. Looks like a run-of-the-mill bearing. I can't verify that it's anything, so I have to have it sent off to a lab. But with the boogosphere, we're talking about something as big as a bowling ball with massive inscriptions or etchings on it. How can this not be validated or verified through scientific process? Why isn't this being shared between countries? Why is it not sitting in a museum somewhere for everybody to see? These are the questions that make me think that sometimes the whole extraterrestrial gamut is a massive psychological operation that is sometimes we don't know yet driven, right? Everything is we don't know yet. Everything's on a need to know basis. Well, there's no physical evidence. From time to time, I'll come across things. I've gotten slag before. I've gotten AKA, there's different names for it, metamaterials, but it's not enough to produce disclosure. We have no physical evidence that's ever been enough to produce the promises of disclosure. Now, there's a terminology shift, and the timing shifts as well. Insiders, including active U.S. Space Force aerospace engineers that I've spoken with, have called the rebrand from UFO to UAP suspicious. Okay, it's designed to switch our attention, our focus again. All of a sudden, we're no longer looking in the sky at flying objects. We are looking at something else, anomalous, right? Something anomalous, something suspicious. And the rephrasing is, much like these engineers say, suspicious. It's designed to sanitize and control the narrative. The push coincided with revelations of advanced human drones, hypersonics, and a lot of other black budget stuff. Where is the truth? There is not a lot of it. Recently, we have Stephen Greer calling Elizondo a disinformation agent, a misinformation agent. He's spoken with various people, but this particular podcast, he was really like laying into Lou Elizondo. Now, I've talked to both of them. I've talked to Stephen Greer. I've talked to Lou Elizondo. I've met Lou Elizondo in person. Stephen Greer didn't rub me the right way. He just was a very egocentric, all about me, just not a kind human being. And so I have a difficult time believing people who don't act like people. And, you know, real unexplained sightings exist. These are real. We have Navy FLIR videos. We have pilot encounters. We have the Weaponized podcast with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp. And the Weaponized name leads me to believe 100%, I'll go on the record saying this, 100% leads me to believe that anything and everything that we gather that has to do with UFO or UAP technology goes into a vault for weaponization. And that goes for high strangeness as well. But anything and everything we find, we need to weaponize it. Weaponizing it is our key priority. Everything else is way down the line. If you want to be a world power, you need to ask first, how does this benefit me? How can this protect my borders? How can this protect my people? How can this protect my economy? And how can I use this to travel to the stars, right? After that, you might seed a little bit of this information out into the public, but by then it's useless, it's worthless, and it can also be used at that point as counterintelligence to distract from whatever's really going on at the moment. So this is intriguing because this deserves rigorous study, but unexplained aliens, which I believe are cosmic intelligences, non-human intelligences that travel interdimensionally via dematerialization and materialization through quantum physics, I believe, and maybe even something above quantum physics as we understand it, for a variety of reasons I can't get into right now. But I believe that this is next gen tech. And what I mean is the next generation may have a grasp of what's going on. We will not. You know, we just won't. There's just still too many layers of that top secret onion keeping us from the truth. And much like Palmer Luckey, who works for Anduril, believes. He believes that whatever we're seeing could be time travelers from the past, but not the future. And I have to somewhat agree in so much as, but not completely, in so much as I believe they've been seen throughout history since the beginning of time. These aliens, these non-human intelligences, these cosmic entities, some would call them deities, they could be glitches in our matrix, foreign adversaries if we're doing something wrong, or they could be there to help us if we're doing something right. The extraterrestrial layer, the crash retrievals, the biologics, the reverse engineering is where the evidence evaporates into hearsay and goes into classified, unacknowledged programs. They never materialize. And even when they do materialize, sometimes they disappear. So what's the percentage that it's all disinformation? I've thrown it into AI, of course, and there's bureaucratic secrecy, even with AI, that there are advanced aerospace threats. This is why we have programs like ATIP. And Congress has pushed for more transparency and stigma reduction, which has led to better reporting. So we can't hate them for that. But there's a few cases that remain genuinely anomalous, in my opinion, after analysis. Now, decades of proven UFO psyops tell me we can't believe anything we hear. And this is going to have to bleed over into the war, into disclosure, into a lot of the mass media and what they give us. As a call to action, I would say this to all of you. If whatever you hear on TV, radio, the news is under 48 hours old and emotionally charged, assume it's manipulated. Just absolutely out of the gate, auto hoax it. Assume it is manipulated. Maybe not fake, but at least manipulated, much like the footage we've seen coming out of all camps at this point. I would say slow down. Slow your roll when looking at this information. Cross-check with primary sources. Look at satellite imagery. Check the account you're getting it from and its track record. Accept uncertainty. Sometimes we don't need to know. You know, we've got to remember, come back to that compartmentalization that our government uses in the military. Is it a need to know? If we don't need to know, then we don't need to know. And what happens when the actual UFO files finally drop mid-war? Did I say that? Did I say that? What happens? Well, I think we're going to find out. We live in amazing times. If you haven't been over to heroparanormal.com, please slide on over there, smash the green subscribe button. Everything helps. And if you want to purchase something to make your significant other feel great about themselves, or to make yourself feel great about yourself, go to happinessmedical.com, pick yourself up a tube of Spice Natural Bronze with organic ingredients. Amazing product made by my wife, brought to market, formulated because she couldn't find anything that did exactly what she wanted. I use this stuff every day. It keeps my skin feeling amazing. Spice Natural Bronze, available at happinessmedical.com. And most importantly, it helps support the podcast. Have a very blessed weekend. Keep your eyes to the skies, feet on the ground, but don't forget to take a look around. Take care.
Esoteric Research Organization.
Hero paranormal, always setting up the pace, man. Crop circle tipping, Illuminati still tripping. Making those ears perk up, gonna make you question your earth.
You better.
Mystery bloodlines and secret society. Creepy shapeshifter says, come sit beside me.
Yeah, cozy on up.
So what's with all these spiral, acting like UFOs. Say what? So people in space wolf tiptoe through the dark, third eye blinding, tune in and blast off, blast off.